All it takes is one bad project to literally bankrupt your company. So in this video, I'm going to give you 4 secrets that I've picked up on after working with over 20 subcontractors who have been in business over 30 years. By the end, you'll have their framework on how to do it too. Most subcontractors will say this is the one thing that they have figured out. I mean, you came from the trade, so if anything, you know how to do the work, right? But it's not just the installation. It's doing all the contractual obligations the client is paying for. There are hundreds of ways to install trade work. The routing direction, the type of material, the tools you use, but the client specifically wants you to do it the way it's designed in the drawings and in the specifications. Any variance to that, even if it's wrong, needs to follow a legal way to change contract documents to protect you from installing it the way you've always done it, so you aren't paying to rip it out and do it their way anyway at your cost. So cracks in pillar number 3 look like this. You're constantly taking phone calls, trying to fix problems on projects every single day instead of your actual to-do list. You have crews standing around or wasting time waiting for an answer or more material. Or you consistently have projects running over budget or behind schedule, even if it's another trade's fault. Have you ever worked with someone who was an excellent journeyman, then got promoted to foreman, and they sucked to work for? They just couldn't transition from doing the work to managing the work. And that's how most subcontractor businesses operate. You were an excellent superintendent, doing your thing, building and organizing, but now you get stretched so thin. You feel the most comfortable doing the superintendent role, so you don't want to give it up. But it causes you to get so far behind trying to do everything else that needs to be done, owning a business, that you've never had to do before. Couple all of that with safety plans, submittals, RFIs, contracts, schedules, subcontractor meetings, all the things. Someone has to handle all of those and the work still has to get done. Most of the time, you try to re-engineer how you do those things every time because you don't remember what you did the last time since it's so infrequent. That feeling of always being busy but never getting anything done. That gets conveyed to your clients too. Years ago, I got tired of working for Google, so I went on to work with a few other companies. One company I started with sent me an offer I couldn't refuse. I had 2 months to move out of state and start. But the day I showed up, my direct supervisor didn't even know my name or that the company hired someone for that position. I had to sit in his office for 2 hours waiting for onboarding paperwork just to get printed out. It felt like I was a to-do for the HR department just to meet a quota. After a short stint there, I was extremely frustrated, so I moved to another company. I had to report at 7 a.m., and the day I showed up for work, there was a swag bag with my name custom embroidered on a jacket with a duffel bag full of polos, a laptop and an iPad already set up, a docking station with 2 monitors for a home office, all sitting there waiting for me. The difference between the two were standard operating procedures. Therefore, SOPs are extremely important for a consistent end user experience. The first problem I see in every company is their project handoff from estimating to the project team. There often isn't a standard, so the estimator goes over whatever they think is important. They don't mean to, but they assume the PM knows the same things they do, even though the PM probably just showed up unprepared because they've spent all morning fixing a problem on site. SOPs don't just help your team give a really great first impression to the client, it sets your team up for better negotiating on the contract and performing the work. They are the silent game changers for scaling, and you can do them without feeling corporate too, with simple things like templates for office work. But how do you help the field give that same 5-star feeling to a client? Imagine not having to guess how something was installed when you show up on site because it was done the same way every single project. Best practices for installation makes it so much quicker to plan and execute with much less room for error. That's why prefab is becoming so popular and it saves 10 to 25% of construction costs. Think of the last project you did that went completely upside down. It never goes upside down the last 20% of the job, even though it feels like it happens the first 20% of the job, the backbone, the planning of work that wasn't planned right or wasn't installed the way that would work. And it always seems to come up when you're at the end trying to meet the project deadline. You need everything to go right, but it never fails. Something always goes wrong and cascades into extra people coming on site to fix it, destroying any profit you hoped you'd have. What would it mean to you if you could see a problem in month 3 of a 15-month project? How much stress would that save you? And how much money would that save you? That's possible if you job cost. Lastly, have you ever been on a job and felt like the PM and the superintendent were on completely different pages? Constantly going at each other on how the work should be installed, how long it should take, always undermining each other just to assert authority? How do you solve that one, Josh? Make it a standard that every week the PM and the super have a 30 to 45-minute meeting to discuss pain points and the next week's issues that have popped up recently. It's magic when a PM is moving rocks before the superintendent gets slowed down by them. And as a former PM, the moment that I realized that, my career exploded. Realizing I could get out of firefighting mode without having my phone blow up because I handled that problem last month instead of it becoming a showstopper today requiring all of my time. Although doing the work is definitely not easy, it is the easiest part for most business owners because it's where you feel the most comfortable. But until you do these 4 things, you'll always be in the business instead of working on the business. And as soon as you start to work on the business, you'll start to see the next area of weakness in this next video.